Siman Vav Sif Beis. When you're making a bracha, nothing is allowed to be in your mouth. Not just when it comes to food or drinks, but even if spit is in your mouth, which you're going to spit out, you're not allowed to say a bracha until you get rid of that spit. Sif Gimel. It's usher to say the Shem Shemayim Levatala. You're not allowed to mention Hashem's name Levatala, and anybody who does is over a mitzvahs asay. What's the asay? The pasuk says, "Es Hashem Elokecha tira," that you have to fear Hashem. And obviously, if you just mention Hashem's name Levatala, that's not called fearing Him, because if you really feared Him, you wouldn't mention His name Levatala. Only you would mention His name when it comes to praising or giving a bracha. Or if it's b'derech limud, that's also okay. And when you do mention Hashem's name, He says that you have to be trembling and have yira when you mention Hashem's name. And not only does this go for the Shem HaMeyuchad, but all of the names of Hashem, all the names that we refer to Hashem, all the Shemas are included in this Isser, and not only all the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Belashon Kodesh, but even Belashon, any Lashon at all. It's also to mention Hashem's name. So if you're saying God, that's also, or if you say it in Yiddish, or any other language that you're talking, that's the name of Hashem, you're not allowed to mention it Levatala. Now, somebody who curses his friend, or he curses himself with one of the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or even with a kinoi. A kinoi is like a nickname, or an attribute. Like, he gives an example here, like if you say the Great One, or the Almighty One. So if you say that, that's also goes into the Isser, and if you curse somebody with that name, or yourself, then you're going to, it doesn't matter what language, you're going to be Chayiv Malkus. It's an Isser Lav. And then he goes on and he says that a lot of people are nichshol in this thing, and they say Hashem's name in their Lashon. And he gives an example, like he says, and he brings an example in Yiddish here, that God should punish that person. You're saying Hashem's name, it's like a klala. And the same thing would go in English. So, doing that, you're going to be over a lav in the Torah, which is really a chi of malchus. Now, if he does it in a sneaky way, if let's say he doesn't actually curse somebody with Hashem's name, but he says something along the lines like, that person should not be blessed to Hashem. So if you say it in that way, so then he says, okay, you got out of the lav of the Chi of Malchus, however, meaning there's not going to be a Chi of Malchus, but there is going to be still an Isser. He says also it's usher to write Hashem's name. You're not allowed to write Hashem's name in any Lashon, any language. And he says a lot of people make a mistake about this, and they write Hashem's name in English or other languages. And then what happens is we know that piece of paper can very possibly end up in the garbage. And it's a big bizayon. And that can also cause a person to be poor. If because of you the Shem Hashem is in bizayon. And therefore he says that he encourages the smart people in Klal Yisrael to figure out a way to be mevatel this minig that people just are very lax with Hashem's name, whether it comes to writing it or saying it. Now, when spit comes into a person's mouth, he says at first you should spit it out, and then you should only after that you should say Hashem's name, like kind of we spoke about earlier. Also, he says that when you're going to kiss the Sefer Torah, you should also make sure that there's no spit in your mouth that you want to spit out. You should spit it out first, and then you can kiss the Sefer Torah. And he says, when you want to mention Hashem's name, so what should you do? What you should do is you should say Hashem. That's what you're supposed to do. He says not to say Adoshem. Some people want to say Adoshem. That's not Derech Kavod, and it's better to just say Hashem.